Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Home Staging Talk Show Live, a weekly broadcast brought to you by the International Association of Home Staging Professionals. I'm Jenny Norris, your chairwoman of IHOSP and your host for Home Staging Talk Show Live, which is a weekly conversation within the home staging industry and for anybody interested in the industry to talk about topics of interest to help you succeed, any information that might be challenging to you that we can help give you some information and advice from experts in the industry, because the industry is now 47 years old, if you can believe it. But a lot of people just got started in the late 90s, early 2000s. And so it's something we want around for a long, long time because it's definitely a vital service, as we all know. So we have a great show for you today. And I do have some announcements for you. I'm going to move this out of the way here. All right, I don't know how to do that. Okay, that worked. Okay, good. I couldn't see behind the little box. Anyhow, we've got a great show for you today. Katherine Brown is joining us. She's with a Successful Stager. She's also one of our guest speakers at the International Association of Home Staging Professionals Conference and Expo in Charlotte. I'm sorry, that was this past year, Nashville. And so we're really excited to have her on. She'll be one of our speakers, and she's going to talk about pricing in Nashville. And so speaking of which, who's coming to Nashville? So Nashville is October 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It's going to be amazing. We're selling lots of tickets, and so don't wait to get yours. The early bird ticket price ends, or the tier 1 ticket price ends end of April, and the prices are going to go up. And so don't wait to get your ticket. And it includes all the sessions. It includes lunches and a dinner on Friday night on a fabulous showboat dinner cruise. We're going to have a super, super fun time. And we also have the hotel, the Gaylord Opryland Hotel is the host hotel. So, of course, they give us special rates on the rooms. And so don't wait to get your room reservation, because that block will either sell out or end, and then the prices will go up greatly. So those of you that are looking to possibly room share as well, we do have a page on Facebook for the conference. And so you can simply search for that. It's 2019 IHOSP Conference and Expo. And then you can put out any information like I'm looking for a roommate or anything like that that you'd like to share. We can get people connected. So that's going to be really great. So again, the conference, October 3rd, 4th, and 5th in Nashville, Music City. So the theme, of course, is we're going to rock your business in Music City, and ROCK stands for resources, opportunities, connections, and knowledge. And so you're going to learn a lot for sure. You're going to connect with a lot of people from all over the world. We have lots of resources to provide to you from not only our vendors that are going to be there, but also the information and resources you'll take away with you from the conference. And then lots of opportunities for growth, for friendships, for success, and more. So get your tickets now. It's going to be the industry event of the year. And of course, speaking of that, these are our keynote speakers. So we're super excited to have our celebrity keynote speakers. Whoops, I meant to get rid of that. It's kind of hard to manage this screen thing at the same time you're talking. Why does it keep doing that? I keep trying to pick these people. All right, now this is going to be correct. Okay, perfect. So our celebrity keynote speakers, we have Candace Olson joining us on Friday evening. And of course, she's been on Bravo and HGTV shows. She owns a design company and is a very successful woman business entrepreneur. And she's super funny also. And she of course, hails from the great country of Canada, right? Got right, Katherine? Woohoo! A lot of the talent that's on the design shows comes from Canada. There must be something in the water. We'll have to talk about that. And then on Friday, it says Friday, then Saturday, we have Tom, Felicia, and Carson Kressley, who are currently the stars on Bravo's Get a Room. And they're wonderful businessmen as well. And they've been in the industry a very long time, been very successful, had to reinvent themselves probably several times, have great lines of furniture. So they've really diversified, as Candace has as well. So, of course, we're going to get to hear from the celebrities, but also talk about business with them, because that's really a great focus of our conference. So super excited to have them. And these are our speakers. This is our speaker lineup. So if you count the speakers, I believe there's 34 or 38 on there. I should have counted before I put that up there. But anyhow, this is our lineup. So these are either main stage speakers, breakout speakers, or keynote speakers. And so our other keynote speaker you can see up there is Barb Schwartz. So she, of course, is our inspirational keynote, and she'll be sharing on Friday evening during the dinner cruise. And always love to hear what she has to share. And then speaking about Barb, I want to show this. So we're really excited. It's very education-centric, very education-heavy, our events. We also have a good time because I feel like people are going to travel. You're going to meet a lot of people. And you also want to make memories beyond just sitting in a chair and learning. So we have a lot of things planned to make it fun and interactive, as well as not giving you a lot of information to help you succeed. So this is Barb's new book, just came out. You probably have seen this on social media. Let's see, I'm trying to get on the camera. Staging the World. So there we go. So it's very thick. She said there were 600 pages. She wasn't lying. So there were just wonderful stories from stagers from all over, and pictures, and lots of great information. So I haven't read through the whole book yet, of course, because it's very long. But she'll be there at conference. Of course, we'll probably have the books available. She's going to have a special table. She can do book signings. So, for example, I'm going to bring my book that I just got on Amazon, and I'll have her sign it for me. So that'll be really great. So if you haven't got your book yet, on the social media pages we put out there, on her page, on the iHouse page, there's different links for different countries to purchase the book. So make sure you go to the right link through Amazon, because I think it's a shipping thing. So anyhow, super excited for that. It having been released. That was definitely a labor of love. I know many hours of her life were put in, and she's still, she was hardly sleeping. So hopefully now that the book is out, she can get some rest. But it's a great testimony to the industry. People of all ages and all backgrounds are in there. So I'm really excited to plow through it when I have some downtime. And then at our conference, I actually want to put this up here, wholesale market. We're going to be doing a wholesale market tour on April 8th. So those of you that were interested, let us know. I believe we are sold out for spots, but just in case anybody is not able to come at the last minute, we can do a wait list. And so we are going to be hitting up all of our top vendors in High Point. And we had special breakfast, lunch, and happy hour around dinner time with key vendors. So you'll be fed, which is great. But you'll get to shop and learn how to navigate through High Point Market. So we'll be doing this again in Vegas in July. Which will be super hot, but it's air conditioned inside the buildings. Yes. And then we're also looking at doing Atlanta in July. So that's our goal, is to do these tours at least once a year in every major location that we go to. So look for that. And then if you are coming to High Point, we do have a couple of educational things we're doing. So we have a roundtable panel discussion on April 7th, and that is with myself, Sandra Holmes, and Blair Hamady. We'll be talking about adding home staging to a design business. So anybody you know that's interested in getting into the industry, they have to know that it's not the same. And I don't know that they don't know that, but the process, the goals, the purpose behind staging is very different than design. And so there's a lot of designers that find they really like staging. Some of them might find that they don't like it. So it's a way to have a conversation with three people who have large businesses in the industry. We've been at this a long time, and then also do some of the design work, or came over from the design side, or currently have that as part of their business. And they can talk to how they're different as far as what we do and why we do what we do, and the process and so forth. So that'll be April 7th. I think it's at 2 p.m. April 8th, I'll be doing a seminar from 2:30 to 4 on the same topic. So it'll be a little bit more of expanded information. There's supposed to be a happy hour following a reception. And on April 6th, Joseph Hecker is doing a series of a student's perspective. And so they're filming segments at High Point. And so you can be in the audience, and it's not live like this is, but it will be aired. And so I'll be on the show on the 6th talking about home staging to these students, and talk about how, it could be a viable career for somebody looking at getting into it even at a younger age. And what I've always said, and we just finished the series on the rise of the young stager, staging is not ageist. It doesn't say you have to be this particular age, or when you get to this age, you're irrelevant. And have had, a person sharing that, they believe that it's only the younger people that should be catered to in the industry, and that's just not right, because you look at the average age of a successful stager, they're 40 plus. And so we want to stay on top of what's happening in the industry, and the industry attracts all ages, all backgrounds, male, female, doesn't matter. If you have a desire to succeed, you can. So that's what I love about home staging. And plus, you know, you can make a good living at it when you build it properly like a business. So speaking of which, on October 6th and 7th, which would be Sunday and Monday following the conference, we are doing an advanced stager training. And these are for people that have 6+ figure businesses. So we did this last year and we needed more time. So we made it 2 days instead of 1. And you do have to register for this. If you are registering for both the conference and the advanced stager training, there's a little bit of a break on the AST portion. So look for the code. And we have 6 facilitators for this. So I'm going to put their pictures up here right now. So excited to have at the advanced stager training, Marianne Cherico, you can see her up on the upper left, Joanne Leonard-Weary, Catherine Lewis Brown, Melissa Morrow, myself, and Jenna Usselton. And so the 6 of us, it's a collaboration between different entities within the industry and leaders who have grown businesses and also have businesses that help staging professionals succeed. And so it's going to be a great time. We'll go through a lot of information, but it's more of like a workshop. So we're here more to facilitate versus speak from a stage or whatever. It's going to be more interactive. And then we'll also have a few outside guest speakers coming in to share on social media and marketing and business productivity. So it's going to be really valuable. The space will be limited because there's a limited number of people we can fit into the rooms we have. And so don't wait to get your ticket for that. So if you have a 6+ figure business, being able to talk to like-minded colleagues who are also where you are in the business or where you want to be is so valuable. And we just don't have the time during a general conference to get that much in depth into the advanced topics. However, a lot of us have been in the business 10+ years. I'm in my 17th year. And the issues that we deal with are unique to people who are at that level or have been in the business that long. And so being able to have a session that focuses on the challenges that those business owners might have, or being able to share what works for them in their process is really valuable. So that is on the 2 days following conference at the Gaylord. We're super excited for that in Nashville. All right, so I believe that is all for my announcements, which is great. So hi, everybody. Yeah, downtime, what's that? Joseph says, yeah, last year was a blast. And yeah, get your plane tickets. What's really great is that Southwest flies right into Nashville, which they don't go into Charlotte. Or I don't think they do. And yeah, there wasn't a nonstop for me there. But anyway, Southwest does go into Nashville. That's usually the best fares, unless you have special arrangements with other airlines. But get your plane tickets now because they are available. And make sure to get your room reservation, your hotel room. So if you go to the IHOSPCon Expo site, www.ihspconexpo.com. We'll just throw this up here one more time. That's our site for the conference. And it has all the information on the speakers, their topics. The schedule is up if you want to go take a look at the schedule. So it is subject to change. You know, that's our desired time frame, and we'll do our best to stay on track. But you can take a look at how many speakers we have and how many breakout sessions you get to go to, and what we have planned. Thursday night is the expo, and it's going to be fabulous fun. We kick off the conference with that, and that's a time to be able to get around to all of the vendors. And then on Friday and Saturday, there'll be a vendor shopping time. We have lunches provided, so you'll have more time to be able to stick around and see everybody who is supporting our conference. And I just want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors who are so far are sponsoring and supporting our association and our conference, because I know we couldn't do it without them. So thank you to those companies. And you can find the list of those companies on our site. And we have Diamond as coaster. They're so far our Diamond sponsor. Then we have Platinum, Gold, and Silver sponsors. So we're very thankful for their support. So, all right. Hey, good morning, Keely. Good to see you. Hi, Janice. And so with that, I'm going to bring Katherine on. So let's see here. Here you are. All right, she's being added to the broadcast. Good morning. Uh-oh. I can't hear her. Can you guys hear her? I hope this is not happening again like it happened last time with live. This thing says it's working. So say something, Katherine. Can you guys hear Katherine? Anybody? Can anybody hear Katherine? Maybe they're writing it down here. Let's see. No, they can't hear you. Can you hear her now? No. Yeah, Billy. So Billy is saying here. I'll just throw this up here. She says she loves what I said about staging being ageist. I'm older and I just started my staging business, which is true. So I totally agree. It's not ageist. So Katherine, what we can try to do is have you call my cell phone. Yeah, call my phone. I'll put you on speaker. So we'll get her on here. Okay, which one are you calling? So call, let's see, do the 720-800-5485. 720-800-5485. Now you all know my phone number. I've given it up before. It's not a big deal. Okay, so she's calling me. So Katherine, of course, is our IHOSP Canada president. So she recently accepted that position, and we're very excited to have her on the team. And so one of the things we will talk about also today is the first call for all the IHOSP members or anybody in Canada who's interested in being part of a chapter for home staging professionals in Canada. And so we'll talk about that with Katherine. So did you call me? Sorry. And so I'm excited for that. So I really appreciate her stepping up into leadership. And Canada has some wonderful, wonderful, very talented people in the industry. Okay. So, all right. So Katherine, so she left. So she's probably going to have to come back in the lobby. Okay. So that will be in April. So we're going to have our first call. So what we're going to do for Canada, rather than having meetings in physical locations, which we can still have some special events that we do, what we will probably do to start off with is do remote, we call it remote chapters. And so that means that people are calling in via a webinar. It could be during Zoom, something where you can actually see each other, or you just call in and you can hear. But that way you don't miss out on information and you're connecting with your colleagues, which is important. So I'm very excited to be able to have that launched. And Katherine, of course, stepped up. She has a wonderful business where she helps stagers succeed. It's the Successful Stager. And she's just a wonderful human being, warm and wonderful. And she, of course, has had a successful staging business as well. She's been a trainer for staging companies. And so very, very honored to have her be participating with IHOSP in this capacity. So IHOSP Canada, she is the president of that country's chapter, if you will. And she is trying to get back in. So we're discussing today, we're all calling now. Yes, I'm calling. How funny. We're going to discuss today pricing. So probably one of the biggest challenges that the stagers have is that pricing topic. So last week we heard from Zoom Casa, who is a new vendor partner with IHOSP. And so members can take advantage of their program where they are actually paying for the staging up front, and also any work that needs to be done in the house. Let's say you run across a client and they have a house that's kind of dated. They need new carpeting, flooring, fixtures, what have you. That is also something that can be paid by this company, Zoom Casa, on behalf of the client. And so they're not coming out of pocket up front for any of these expenses in their mind. And so price is basically taken off the table for them to properly present their house to market. So how many clients have we seen where their houses are just in either bad condition because they haven't maintained it, or just dated and they need help? And so I think it's wonderful. That's a wonderful opportunity for us to take advantage of. So their website is zoom.casa, and you can register, go in there and put your information in as a stager. They're going to ask you for your insurance information, your agreement, and they're available to talk to any of us. You can schedule a 15-minute call. They have a webinar on Fridays. And so Katherine completely disappeared from the broadcast. So let me see if I can get her on my own here. Let's see, I'm going to copy the link and I'm going to send it to her. So I don't know how to do that. Well, Katherine, she should be the same link I sent to her already. So anyway, as a stager, we don't wait for our money. So I want to make sure you guys all understand that you are being paid for your services at the time of service. However, the client is not having to pay for the staging until at the end. And of course, there's a service fee involved, and that's Zoom costs taking on the risk of paying for these things up front because, what if the house doesn't sell? They're not going to come back to you or me or even any of the contractors that might be involved in helping update the property. They're not going to come back and say, well, gosh, this didn't work out, so you owe us money. They're not going to do that. So there is a service fee, if you will, tacked on. And when you talk with them, they can let you know what that is for your market. And so then we just simply add that on at the front end. When you're talking to your client, you can offer them to pay at closing or out of escrow, depending on where you live, how the terminology, or they can pay you up front. And so when they pay at closing, you tell them this is what it's going to be. And then if they say great, then they start engaging with Zoom Casa. They take care of all the paperwork. They keep track of everything. And then if the client, for whatever reason, says, well, gosh, I don't want to pay that, then you can say, well, when you pay me up front, it's going to be this amount. And you just take off the Zoom Casa service fee, and it's still your same amount you were going to get in the beginning. So you're not lowering your pricing in order to win a staging project. And so I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to help sellers afford the staging when they may not have the money to come out of pocket, because I don't know about you, but I don't have, thousands of dollars laying around to be able to update a property. And some of these people don't think ahead of time to pull a loan off or take some equity out of the house prior to putting it on the market and getting it ready. So it would be a really great program. So that's Zoom Casa. And so we talked with them last week, and then that led to this wanting to talk about pricing this week with Katherine. So Katherine, where are you? All right, bear with me just for a second. You're going to see something probably on my screen, and I'm still talking, so hopefully you can see me. And I'm just going to send her the link again, just because maybe it did change. So I don't know what happened there. I just had to go to my Facebook page, and I just sent her the link. So I don't know if I disappeared or not, but hopefully you didn't see anything weird. So I did just send her the link again so she can come back into the lobby. So when we talk about pricing our businesses or services, that seems to be a big issue for a lot of people in our industry. You either win on price, you lose on price, you don't make enough. And one of the exercises we go through in the master's course is we break down in detail just how profitable you are in your business on a project. And it's not hard to do, but I don't think a lot of people really consider all their overhead expenses and costs associated with running a business. And so you bring a certain dollar amount in, you pay out for helpers and whatever else your costs are for that staging project. You go, wow, I made this amount of money. But you didn't really, because you now need to factor in all your overhead expenses, which would be like your marketing, your memberships, your insurance. Let's say you store your things in a warehouse. And so that costs money. So you need to allocate funds based on how many projects you run annually. Then you're going to divide up those numbers. If you pay a lump sum annually, let's say for your insurance, then you would divide that up by the number of projects. That's how much you would allocate to each project. And so then that's going to give you your true net profit. Then you divide that by how much the staging was. Then I'll tell you how profitable you were on that particular project. So Katherine, I can see you again, but you're sideways. As you can hear me. There you are. Okay. All right. So we're going to try this again. Okay. So I'm going to try bringing you in and see if we can hear you. Okay. So it's notifying you. All right. Hello.
Hi.
Yay! We can hear you.
Sorry about that. I think I got a new computer and my mic will not work on the for some reason. When I try to use Messenger, it's the same thing. So I didn't realize it would do it with this. So my apologies. I've had to go on my phone, and now I have to hold it because my little speaker thing doesn't work. So anyway, you're gonna look at my ceiling.
Well, it's funny because when I've had to do that before, like my phone wouldn't stay in the holder, your arm gets tired. So
yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to let everybody know who you are.
Well, I don't know. I like that warm and cuddly thing I heard you say. I've never been called that before. Whatever, whatever that description was that you used.
Yeah, you're warm and inviting and just a really kind human.
Oh, I thank you. What am I? So my name is Katherine Brown. So I'm the, what do I do? I have been a stager since 2010 in Toronto. I'm just realizing that Toronto is quite a tremendous hub for a stager. So we're really very lucky because we have so many resources here. But now, sorry, I was racing trying to get my phone to work, so I'm not concentrating. And so now I train stagers most of the time. Like I would say probably training and coaching stagers really around the world, which is kind of cool, and loving what I do. And now really excited because I'm going to be able to do that with IHISP as well, and really sort of gather Canadians and rally Canadians to be part of IHISP. So really excited about that.
We're excited to have you too, and just really appreciate what you're doing. And we talked last week, so we've got some good things planned. Really excited about what's going to come coming soon to Canada for home staging professionals. And so I'm so happy to have you at the helm. I don't know which way to look. Like I keep wanting to look this way because I see you on my screen over here, but when I do, my head looks like I'm looking away. So I'll be like this, but I'm not even. I'm like looking at the other wall. It's just sort of strange. So I am looking at you sideways now.
That's okay.
So pricing seems to be something that sort of fell in your lap as like a bailiwick that you sort of specialize in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did that kind of happen?
Well, I have to say it happened really because I think that people that knew that I was doing some coaching and training when I first really started, their big question was always about pricing. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Was that their big question was always about pricing, and that became like a really big concern to me because it was never easy for me either. Like it's one of those things that I find that as a trainer, I realize that a lot of people, two things happen. They're trained, but it's not in a very sort of concrete formula kind of way. They just sort of, so this is how you create a price and you're kind of left to go. And then they don't have any experience. So you get out there and you have to do a job. And the last thing you're thinking about is actually how to actually price the job. And then suddenly you're in a panic and it doesn't get better. And so I think that there's a lot of stress that comes with it. I think it doesn't help that it's quite a high price point item. And if you're not at a place where you're totally confident in the value that it's going to bring and your abilities to bring it, then it can be really quite stressful. And I can absolutely remember, sweating profusely, like trying to, do I hit the send button? Is it okay? Is it too much? Are they going to say no? Am I going to lose the job? And so many things go into that. That I think it just causes a lot of stagers far too much stress. And in an effort to not have to really think about how to create their price, they use things like a percentage of list price and a square foot price and things like that that really aren't accurate about your business. And it's great to hear what other stagers are doing with their pricing, but it really has dick all to do with you. Like it really has to be about your business. And I think that's the kind of message that, well, first of all, is that it's all about your business. And secondly, that it has to include everything that it costs you to run your business. Otherwise, you will not make money.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you get the job or not.
Right. And I'm right with you. When I got started, I was in Sacramento market, and there's a little bit of feedback. So hopefully you guys are able to hear okay. I just guessed. I didn't know what to charge because nobody had been staging up there at all. And so I basically took a look at what interior designers made and came in underneath that because, they have more education. And oftentimes, whether this is right or wrong, I didn't make up this perception. The perception is that they're expensive. And so I thought, well, we want to come underneath. But I just guessed. I didn't know what to pick. And I thought they'll either run me out of town or they'll pay it. And so they luckily didn't run me out of town. And so I started at $75 an hour back in 2002. And so then the markets, increase over time as property prices increase and so forth. But it shouldn't be, to me, I feel like it shouldn't be this hard for people to figure out how to price their services. And I know some of this that Joellen at Weary last year on our show, she talked about this, or she put this on Facebook, that your inexperience doesn't mean the client should pay more. So, and what she meant by that, and I totally agree, is that when you get experience, you get more efficient with your time and your process.
Yeah.
So a staging that might take you, because you're newer, and figuring things out might take you 10 hours, and somebody who's been humming along and has a business could do it in half the time. Doesn't mean that you deserve to get paid double, just means you're learning and you're going to get to the ability to be able to be more efficient. But it is very challenging. And I also link the price to the value. So
absolutely.
Conversation. How do we shift the conversation from all about the cost or the price or the expense in the client's mind to the value?
Mm-hmm. I think you have to put yourself in the buyer's shoe, or in your customer's shoes, and figure out what that value means to them. Because if you try to do it just on, if you assume that you know what price point they're going to go for and what's going to make them happy, you could find yourself really undercutting yourself. And the problem is that you get so caught up in and I have students right now who are stressing about this, about, well, my competition is doing less, and the realtors are expecting less, and they told me that was ridiculous, the price. But when you worry about what you think that they want, or what they tell you they want to pay, you get caught up in thinking you have to price your job that way, as opposed to realizing the value that you're bringing to the actual job, and the value that they're going to get out of you doing the job for them. So what it's going to actually mean to the sale of their home. And it's a hard thing to twist, because I think that the pricing is more tangible. Value is not quite as tangible. And I think that comes with confidence, and you have to really push yourself. You have to kind of light a fire under yourself to say, this has to be about the value. It can't just be about the cost. And now, having said all that, the cost of doing the job is really important, because you as a business owner need to make sure all those costs are included in that value. And otherwise you're not going to make any money, and hopefully you'll make lots of money. But if you valued yourself lower than you should have, then you may not even cover your costs. So to build the cost, you have to know what's going into it. But your value, you have to really put yourself in the shoes of the customer. And I think you also, and this is something that doesn't happen often enough, is that you have to look for and market to that ideal customer for you, that customer who sees that value, wants that value, and will pay you for that value.
Right. And I feel like, you said something earlier about the people saying, well, the realtors are used to paying this, or the seller. And it's like, we never want to let anybody dictate what our prices are, because they don't know what you do in your business.
Exactly.
They don't. A realtor, unless they have had a successful staging business, doesn't really know what you do and what part they see. They might see you rolling in with some accessories in a truck with furniture and so forth. They don't know. I mapped out the 16 steps for a vacant staging project. That's one of our fast track sessions. And there's 16 steps, and they see 2, right?
Yeah.
Out of 16. They don't know what we do in our business. So we never want to let the client dictate our pricing. So when you start getting into that thing, we're like, well, can you do it for this amount? Or I've asked the question, what's your budget? I want to know if it's realistic. They come and say, what's $500? And it's like a 3,000 square foot house. There you need a reality check. So sometimes when you send pricing off, at least what I do, there's always a little bit of wiggle room, right? You kind of gauge the client, what their needs are, their time frame, the fact that I can be super responsive. Maybe someone else can't get to them for 2 weeks. That could be a reason why you win the business, even though your prices might be higher. Or it could be any additional services you offer, like photography, or maybe you're going to help showcase their property on a social media platform or whatever. There's things that you can do that add value without having to take away from your pricing. And I always have a little bit of wiggle room in, and then I know what my walkaway price is. And so that's the price at which point I start losing money. And I've actually told clients, I'm not going to stage your house and pay you for the privilege of staging your property, because I'm going to lose money based on what you want to pay. So you're going to have to go find somebody else. It just doesn't make good business sense to do that. And so, people do ask, I don't think all the classes are teaching specifically how to price. I know that when we go to a specific region, we do some, reconnaissance work ahead of time, and we figure out what the going rate is for that region. And then we teach the students, this is what can apply in your market. And we don't want to price fix. People can charge what they want. I just don't want somebody coming into a region that supports, a dollar amount that's, substantial it's good for staging, and they come in at $10 an hour or 20, and leaving so much money on the table, devaluing the service, because it's not like a regular 40-hour week job where you get paid an hourly wage. and you work 40 hours a week, that our business is very different because it's tied to real estate. And that's why realtors get paid commission, not hourly. And even when you look at the other services involved in selling a house with or buying a property, even the appraiser, the inspectors, and so forth, what do they earn for their services? It's on par with what a stager receives as well. So we're not exorbitantly high and gouging a client based on how we price our services. And so I think one of the first things is that the stager needs to believe.
Yes, I totally agree with that. So I think maybe as a responsibility as a trainer, part of that is like instilling and educating on the messaging that goes with that, and really truly what value it is that you are bringing. Like I always think that one of the things that, when you're pricing is that you never know, like you might hear what someone else is pricing a job, but you don't know if they are not charging for inventory, which I fear is one of the things that people do. I hate to ask because it always gives me the heebie-jeebies, but they're not charging for their inventory, or they're getting their kids to bring the furniture, or they're using their husband's truck, and it's stuff coming out of their house, as opposed to another stager who is has their own inventory, has a buyer, has a warehouse, has a truck, has a team. They're all educated and trained, and as you say, they bring all those additional services. So it really, like, you cannot compare. It truly is comparing apples to oranges. But at the same time, if you're going to be one of those people who has all those, who's doing it right, who's a professional stager, who really aims to hit high in your service and your delivery and your education, then you're bringing huge value. So you should have a huge price ticket in terms of just that value, not necessarily how much it costs to do the job, but that value that you bring to the customer.
Right. And I know that most stagers do start off, in the beginning. At least I did have my stuff in the garage. I used things for my house, and then started acquiring furniture and accessories and so forth. And for my business, I didn't take out a business loan. I didn't do any credit cards. Everything that I purchased for my business, even to this day, is paid by the business. So I don't want to have a bunch of debt. And so I know somebody in the beginning, you might be watching and saying, well, gosh, I do take things out of my house. I have to use my friend's truck, or we used to rent trucks, and then we actually got a truck that would be provided to us. And then now, a lot of people purchase trucks and so forth. And so whatever works for your business, what Katherine and I totally agree is that you want to have professional processes in place. So you might start out that way, but my hope and her hope too is like 3-5 years down the road, you're not still doing it that way.
Yeah. And the thing is that you're not charging little for it. I think, if you bring, I think the goal is to be able to deliver professionally a service. But at the same time, if you are bringing furniture from your house, because I certainly have a few pieces I used to bring all the time that I liked enough to want to have in my house. If you're doing that, then you're still delivering a professional service. But the thing is that you have to look at it as like this overall value that you're bringing, or that you're working towards bringing. Right. Because we all start off with that, like you don't want to start off on a low price point just because you brought like that gorgeous piece of furniture from your house, and your husband brought it in his truck, because we all do that. Although my husband didn't bring it. I think my sister brought it. Great to have family when you're starting this business. But then, or maybe you're not paying them, but you still have to charge as if you are. You still have to charge as if you are bringing from a rental property. And as long as you're bringing that caliber still to you don't want to be perceived as bringing cheap stuff from your house either, right?
Right, because it's hard to raise your prices. So I got a debate with a client that I think we staged from I don't even think I think I staged from like over 2 years ago. And then he came last year and asked for an estimate. We were going to the conference in Italy. And so we did not end up staging for him, but he had the proposal. And so he's one of these investors that, wants a lot for a little bit of money. And I think the first staging, because of the property price and the furniture, the rental process and so forth, we were able to give him a, nice price. So he expected that, over 2 years later, and I sent him a proposal and he's like, wow, your prices are a lot higher. And I'm like, well, we've changed our resources as far as where we get the furniture. We now control all of that. So the process is different. And so the expectation was he was going to try to work me over for a lower price. Then I come to find out he already had a proposal from a competitor in my market that was the same price I quoted him originally. So I said, I know, and he revealed that to me. So I said, I know I'm right on target with my pricing because you told me this other company's pricing. And so, no, I'm not going to, I wanted to say, I'm not that desperate for your business that I would lowball my price so much just to get some money from you. And so I'm just like, I don't want to, I just said, we're not going to do business together because I'm not going to do that. And, his goal was to try to work me over. So there are people out there that's specifically what they expect, that they can work a deal with anybody. And so as a stager, we have to have that script in our head as far as justifying our value. Why, because again, they're not in our business. They don't know how we run things. And so being able to tell them that it's a process. There's 16 steps involved. And by the time I even get to the house to stage, 80% of the work is already done because I've already planned it all. I've seen the property, you pick everything, you orchestrate the team, you get everything together, you get it set up, and that's the fun part. Then you got to go back and get your stuff. But prior to the fun part of getting it all in there and getting it set up, there's a lot of work that goes in that these people never see. And whose responsibility is it for them to understand how we work? Who's responsible for sharing that information?
Yeah, I think it's yours as the stager, absolutely. But then you have to feel confident in that value. And I also think that you don't need to justify it. I think you sometimes need to validate it. And, but if you're marketing to the right person, to your ideal client, they're not going to try to get you down to the bottom line. They might want to negotiate, or there might be some wavering, can you do this instead or change that? And that's totally cool. Like, I don't think stagers should dig their heels in about negotiating, about coming up with a better price or better solution, because there should be wiggle room in not so much yes, in the price, but more in what you're delivering. Yes, I want that extra room. I find I used to have one particular client, and he used to, he always would hire us. I always knew it was a job. And yes, when we gave him the price, he'd say, do you think, I was really hoping that you could do this other room? And I'd say, well, I could do that, but we'll take that out and that'll lower the price for you. And then he'll be like, you know what, I want that one. And then can you do that one too? Like, it never ended up as that they weren't trying to screw you. They were trying to do well for their business, which, is totally respectable, because we would do the same thing. But I think when you have confidence that what you deliver is of huge value to them, and you're totally confident in the price that you're offering, and that it represents your value, that's a beautiful place to be. And I do think that part of getting there is making sure that you are marketing to the right people. And so then you don't get those people who want to negotiate and want to screw you over, and that you feel that way about, because who wants to work under those conditions, right? Like, I'd rather just say no from the beginning. It's not going to happen. So.
I agree, because there's, you'll have your clients over time as you build your business. There's your loyal clients that come to you. They're not going to be shopping you out with other people. And they'll even sometimes say, well, this is the budget, especially when the realtors are paying for it. They may come back and say, this is what I want to allocate towards it, or they might question the pricing, but I find that they're usually pretty reasonable when you're able to come back and say, like, validate versus justify. I like that word. This is why it's this much. And so, I always let people know I can, if there's a particular look that they're looking for, like higher end clients and so forth, they need to expect to pay more than somebody who's an average price property versus one that's in 7 figures. So the expectation can't be the same. And then I've even had clients like, well, we want these special inclusions, these special types of furniture. And then I'll say, well, now that's coming into a special, almost like a design project where I'm specially sourcing things specifically for you. And that's outside the scope of the staging. I can do whatever anybody wants. I can get furniture, I can get whatever look they want. It's all about their price and how much they want to pay, and the value they think that brings. So as a stager, somebody who's newer, I think one of the best things you can do is to shadow somebody who has an existing company and watch how things operate and learn. I'm all about the clock, because time is money. And so on a staging, we're gonna have a discussion about, we want to be in and out of here in a couple of hours, or lay the foundation and see how things go. Because the longer you stay in a property, the less money you make, because you can't go back to a client and say, gosh, I didn't figure it out right, and we took a lot longer in the house than we thought. You're just basically paying your people for that time instead of pushing them. And I don't mean to be like a total dictator, but the fact is that time is money. So that all factors into your overall profit.
Yeah,
because when things go over, you have caught, maybe the truck had to stay out longer, or maybe you had a delivery team and they took longer. So all that money comes out of your personal net that you were expecting off the project. So just everybody watching, keep that in mind, that you need to kind of run the project. You're like I call it like a project manager. You're facilitating it, and you're really the only one that knows the dollar amount. Your team doesn't know what you bid and what your proposal amount was. They don't know the pricing. And so being able to communicate the expectation to them will also help you make more money and keep on track.
Yeah. I always think it's a good idea to tell your team like what you've actually the hours that you've budgeted for that staging when you get there, so that there's that there, if you say it's 4 hours, we're going to be done in 4 hours. So when 4 hours comes and they're not done, then you're like, no, and again, not like you're chomping at the bit or a dictator, but it just in the background, you're sort of, let's make sure we're done. And it keeps everybody on track, I think, when they know that. I also think too that I always think it's interesting when people say that they spend 2 or 3 days on a staging job. I've never done that, and I know that it can be done. I know that in a bigger home, when you're hitting 4,000 square feet and you're doing the whole thing, and there can be a lot of that. I get that, but I think on the whole, I think one of the things that I always found interesting was that it could take that long. And I have to say, I kind of lose interest after that. After that first day, I don't want to go back. So I would plan all my jobs so that I had the right amount of people to get the job done in those hours I allotted. Because you lose steam. It's when you're working hard and you're working fast. I just want to sit down. Like, who wants to come back for another day?
I think some of those projects could be like the delivery of all the big stuff happens one day, and then the team comes and does the creative. And we do some of that here too, just for time expediency, because the delivery is what kills us on we're just waiting for the delivery to happen. Yeah. And so, and then when, having to get the stuff off the truck, and it, takes time, they want to be careful. So sometimes that could be the delivery happens and then the creative, but there's also been other people that said they've taken 3-4 days in a house, but I'm totally like you. I'm like, I don't want to go back. I'm like one and done, I'm like 3-time girl. I show up to preview the house. I stage the house, we get our stuff back. And that's about as much time as I want to take on that property.
And I think also what comes with that, and this also adds to your value, is that you do it quickly. Is that that you know what you're doing, you have a plan, you're in and you're out. So the value to the realtor is that you are done and you're efficient, and that you have systems and processes, that you're a business that runs expediently and delivers on time. So I think all those things sort of add to your value, right? So I was thinking as you were talking that one of the things I think that new stagers could do is to actually write themselves sort of an inventory list of what value they actually bring to their business. Because I think because a lot of stagers traditionally have started this as a second career or even third career. They bring so much to the table that they don't even think about. They think about themselves as, well, I just had my training, or I just started my business, so I don't really have that experience. But they bring so much to the table that they forget completely that that you did project management at your job, that you ran HR in your job, that you hired and fired, that you planned, all those things, or that you were doing communications or sales. All those things add huge value to what you bring to the table. And so I think it's really important to sort of write that inventory of what kind of training you've had and experience that you've had, and what those characteristics are that really add super value to your business. And so you feel that much more confident. Sometimes you have to just keep writing that. I have on my desk one of those, it just does the corner of my eye, one of those desk calendars, but it's from that book, You're a Badass. And have you read that book? It's a great book. It's a great series of books. And so I have that on my desk. So I read that every morning, that you're a badass, you can do this, you have value. But you have to put those things in place, right?
Well, it's even in like the master's course, we make the students start to formulate the value proposition. Yeah. So if you ever thought about what your value proposition is as a business owner? So it's not just, the services you can provide, but what makes you different. than anybody else. Like, we learned last year at conference, I'm the only whatever, I'm the only stager that does this. I'm the only person that has this background. But your value proposition is something that's going to be a benefit to the client. So I know Kat Trullinos came on the show and she talked about taking away the pain point. So what is their pain point and how can you help them solve that challenge? So what's your value proposition? You can Google what that is. You can see some examples online. And then it's a succinct, usually like a one line with like a few sentences underneath to clarify it. So it's not this huge, long statement, but that's something that needs to be in all of the marketing and branding is what makes you different. What value do you bring to the process, to the market, to the industry, to the people you're working with, the sellers, the realtors, the builders, and investors? That's your value proposition. And so if people haven't done that, and it's different than your mission statement and your vision statement, it's your value proposition. And the value proposition might be a part of your mission vision, but it's a separate animal. But a lot of people haven't really thought about that. And then let's say you don't have anything that you feel sets you apart. Well, come up with something. And it could be as easy as like adding photography. Maybe you schedule the photographer. In my market, that they're all about the photographer. It's like the photographer is only available, they're available.
Yeah.
The photographer has nothing to photograph when we're not finished. So my first question is, when are you scheduling pictures? So then I know I want to be done the day before. I don't want them marching in when we're, just finishing the staging. Or maybe one of the stagers, Teresa Thomas, I don't know if she still does this, but at one point she was actually offering cleaning services, a maintenance clean. And so she would come in. I don't think she was running the vacuum, but she would coordinate somebody to come in every 2 weeks or once a month, whatever the term was, to make sure that the property still looked good, dusted. And one of the houses we just staged was like a 1.4 million. Well, it had dead flies, and they weren't in the garage. They were somewhere. I'm like, you got to make sure these flies are gone because, it's just gross.
Yeah.
So having somebody come in and do that to make sure that the staging, items aren't dusty. And so that could be a value service. So think about even marketing the property. That was one of my value added. I'm the only stager that continues to work for you after the staging is complete. We're going to promote the property. So
I think even it comes down to, like, if you decide that you want to market it to a particular niche, if you have a niche market, because that niche really separates you. If you're working with seniors or estate sales, or you're able to talk about, I specialize in this. I know what you're feeling. I can make that brand new day better for you, and I'm going to support you. I support your family. So all those messages can come out in your marketing and in your value proposition that makes it really easy. So I encourage stagers to look for that niche market, because actually, if you start thinking about the niche that you want to be in, you start to realize the things that go into that niche that are actually the things you love to do, and the things that you love to talk about and that you can promote. And all of a sudden, you have that value proposition that is so different from anybody else and makes you unique and special.
Right. And then because, we want to be jack of all trades, master of none. So staging in general is sort of a blanket service. And then what Katherine was saying is very true. You can actually specialize in specific market segments. And there's stagers that they only like to do vacant properties. They don't want to do any occupied. They don't do consultations. There's some that specialize like in the high end, some that like to do the sweet spot of the mid-range property, crank those out. So some like working with older people, the senior or the mature adult market. So that's also
I like that, the mature adult market.
Seniors. And so depending on what you like to do, and maybe what your temperament, personality, and so forth, you get to choose what kind of business you want to have and what types of clients you want to target. Lynn Spaeth, who's one on the leadership team with iHosp and Staged Homes, she specialized in doing the occupied hands-on for the older people, and she calls them her blue hairs, and she says she loves her blue hairs, and they love her, and she becomes like their family, because when you're engaging in that market segment, it's usually more time intensive, because things don't happen lickety split, because a lot of times they're downsizing, they may have to get rid of things, and then you're staging their property, and maybe they're going to be doing some updating or not, but you're really involved with these people for a longer length of time than somebody who just wants a vacant house stage and they don't even live in the country or the state or wherever anymore. And she loved doing that service. And so, but there's a lot of stagers who don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want
because it's a longer service. Yeah. And it kind of comes down also to when you're saying that about the trust factor, that when you have a niche, that trust level goes up. And so then it becomes, is it my value or is it the trust that you know, that you've created with them, and kind of come part and parcel.
Yeah. And so kind of circling back to pricing, I mean, I like to tell stagers, you know, get as much as you can as far as your price. You know, when your market supports a particular price point and you can receive that for your services, kudos. So, but it all goes back to understanding what your market is and your value, and then also understanding the process so that you're not taking too much time. So there, you know, the different models that are out there, you mentioned a couple, the percent of list price. I've never done that one only because it ties me to the sale of the home, because they can do math and they can figure it out. My tip is always, when I'm teaching in class too, stay away from round numbers. Like, don't come up with like, you know, 3,500, because they know you really didn't add anything. You just came up with the number versus with, you know, 2985 or 2987. They feel like you at least did some math. So then you did price per square foot, which is what we used to do in Sacramento. So we would do a price per square foot, and then depending if it was average property or a higher end, you would scale it up. And that gave us a framework, and then we would still have to kind of tweak the numbers based on what was actually being done in the property. Then there's the another model is the actual. So you take a look at, you know, how much is the inventory, how much is the time, who's helping you, and then that's your actual cost, and then you can pad it so you know how much profit you're making on top of that. And there was a fourth one that just kind of went out of my head. So price per square foot, actual, what's another one? Percentage, price per square foot, actual. I guess those are the three main ones. So the main thing is, you, in order to price yourself to where you're making money, you need to know where your costs are for your business. And that's where most stagers completely miss the point on that one. They just start throwing numbers out. And then, you know, ultimately you want to find out, how are you positioned in the market? There will always be somebody who will be lower than you, and there will probably always be somebody who's higher than you. And so being able to then bring in other elements that we talked about of value, such as your ability to deliver more timely, get it done faster, get them in on the schedule. There's people that will say, we're booked out for 3 weeks. You'll never hear that cross my lips, ever. I always find a way to fit it in. And I know sometimes we feel like we kill ourselves in a week, but I don't want, when somebody needs it, they usually need it now. My experience is, I'd say like 80% of the clients don't plan ahead for the staging. It's all of a sudden like they walk with like, oh, we should stage our house. And then they have the picture scheduled for next week. So they've got to get it done. They want to get on the market. And I do have some that really plan, you know, and I love those people because you can get them on the calendar like 6 weeks in advance. But maybe it's your ability to turn around a staging more quickly. So, or the market niche, like you were talking about. Yeah. So, any last words in your topic at our conference, she'll be sharing on pricing. And so I know it's a very popular subject. So any last thoughts?
Any thoughts? Well, I just wanted, I kind of circling back to what we started with in the beginning was, you know, really that in order to know your value, you really have to know what it is that you're bringing to the table. And you also have to decide, this is what I want to bring to the table, you know, and aim for that. You shouldn't be, your prices shouldn't vary so much. Start with how you plan to go forward, and especially from the beginning. But I think one of the things that's like so important, two things actually, maybe many things. But the first thing would be, know your business really well. Like, know what it costs your business to deliver a job. I mean, people should not be paying less than that for the service. If they can't afford the service at the cost and with the profit that you need to run your business, then they are not going to be your customer, and they can't buy the service. Because do you really want to pay for them to make money on the sale of your house while you're busy paying everybody else in your team except you? Like, that just is ridiculous to me. And it's kind of a harsh thought, but I think you have to constantly remind yourself that this is a business, and I have to feed my family, and they have to pay the price. Otherwise, they're not my customer. And if you're getting people who are not your customer, who won't pay or don't want to pay, then start marketing differently. Start thinking about really what that value is that you bring, that extra special thing that you need to bring in order for them to pay the price that you're charging for what you do.
Right. Very true. And I think, like for most realtors, when they are putting their team together, you know, they're looking for somebody who's going to be reliable, be responsive, like answer your phones. I can't tell the number of calls I've received where they'll say like, you're the third person I called, or wow, thank you for answering your phone. Most people don't. So answer your phone and at least return phone calls timely. So they're looking for people that are going to be professional, represent them well. And so those are all things that when you're working with a realtor, those are all kind of buzzwords you can use with them in marketing. And also you help them be more productive because you're taking that responsibility off their plate. They don't have to manage the process of getting the house ready for sale, whether it's a consultation or a hands-on or even the vacant. They just want to trust that it's done, and they get to focus on what they need to do, which is getting that property listed. So working with value propositions and change the conversation so it's not all about price.
Yeah.
So,
and I think another one thing that I would add is when you're marketing and when you're thinking about who that ideal client is that you want to work with, pick the ones that you're going to have a long-term relationship with. Because when you have that long-term relationship, you avoid all this crap because you are working with someone who always is willing to pay you, always gets your value, that you enjoy working with, and also that you don't have to spend more time marketing to. So your efforts are where they should be, which is running your business and being the best that you can be and delivering on that value.
And then I also share that, don't limit your client base to like 5 or 10 people because realtors' businesses can wax and wane. And so I think you're always out there looking for new clients, inviting them in, because I never want to be in a position where, let's say I work with an investor and all of a sudden he goes from working on a bunch of properties, residential, they go to commercial. All of a sudden you've lost that big nut, and that leaves a big gap in your financial picture projected forward. So no one client is that important in a business, or you need to focus on that because things can happen in their lives that could take them off in a different direction. And you don't want to be sitting there going, oh my gosh, I don't have any money coming in because I was relying on that so much. So my advice is to cast your net wider, figure out the types of clients you want to work with, have your core, but always be out there fishing because things can change. And then when you get your business to where you want it to be, whether you want to continue to grow every year or you're happy where you are, that's another thing that's just, your decision as a stager. Don't compare yourself to other people's businesses because you're not in their business running the business.
Yep.
So from the outside looking in, you might have an opinion or feel like this is how it's happening, but you really don't have an idea. So focus on your business and what your goals are. So
and I think also focus on especially because these are high ticket items for most people, whether or not we think they are because we're in it, they are high ticket price items. And so to think of it more and not selling the features of what you're going to do, but selling the benefits. And if you start thinking about the benefits, it's a lot easier to insert your value into that. Because that's what they're getting as opposed to the features. So not room by room or item by item and hour by hour. It's like that benefit that's going to come to that realtor and their client.
Absolutely. Well, we are, believe it or not, the hour is up. We're a little bit over. And so I appreciate having you on, and look for Katherine on the Successful Stager on Facebook. And she has a site that you can join. And then she'll be speaking again at our conference at the in Nashville, and also the Advanced Stager training. So you'll get to really know her when you come.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it too. So thank you for being on. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, you bet.
All right.
Well, thanks, everybody. And
bye.
We'll be back next week with another great segment and a topic of value for all of our listeners and watchers. And if you could go ahead and share this segment out on your pages, that would be super helpful so we increase our reach, because our goal is to reach as many people as possible about staging. So bye for now. We'll be back next week with another great segment. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.